Greetings, fellow Whovians, and welcome to Timey Wimey Review. Rumours are that this version of the Dalek design is to be retired from future episodes of Doctor Who from 2023 onwards, so I thought I would review their first appearance in the 9th Doctor episode Dalek, originally broadcast on BBC One in April 2005. Just in case you don't know the plot, the 9th Doctor and Rose intercept a distress signal originating from an underground bunker in Utah, America, Earth, in the year 2012. This bunker contains a variety of alien artifacts with one living specimen, that specimen being the Doctor's greatest and deadliest enemy, the Dalek. I felt, or at least I feel, that the creators and everyone behind the scenes had to do two things with this episode. One, make it so that this legitimizes the show and make it an absolute mainstay for years to come. And two, absolutely legitimize the Daleks, because towards this time, in terms of, especially with Doctor Who and the Daleks, they became a bit of a joke, especially like the way they looked or even sounded like, or the fact that they couldn't go up the stairs, even though we saw that in the late 80s. And yeah, and Doctor Who, it was still a bit of a sort of a jokey sort of gag with wobbly sets and wobbly actors. This episode, though, absolutely, I felt, paled all that away and washed those doubts away when it came back in 2005. Let's look at this version of the Dalek, obviously taking a lot of inspiration from the designer Raymond Cusack and, of course, the writer Terry Nation. And it's like revamping the Mini Cooper, really. It's a bit more bulkier, a bit more chunkier. Loving the bronze metal finish, and it made it look like a war machine again. It felt like a war machine again. And when you compare it to, say, classic stories like Destiny of the Daleks is a fine example, where the Dalek props just definitely looked tired and battered. This one absolutely looks great, and obviously it was damaged when we first see the Dalek in the bunker, and then it managed to basically absorb a lot of electrical energy and sort of kickstart itself again, and then you got this bronze metal look. And I also liked that they really made this pretty much the most powerful creature in the universe. Just one Dalek can wipe out the entire population of the United States if it wanted to. Even with use of the plunger, I love that with that guy that was torturing the Dalek in the episode. What are you gonna do? Sucker me to death? Oh yes, I am. And obviously we had the moment of the flight of stairs again. And it just took one look at at the Daleks' victims, and just gone elevate, and away it went. And I really loved the scene actually when the Dalek first starts exterminating a lot of soldiers, and it was rotating its body as well. I thought that was pretty cool. You don't really see that often in modern Doctor Who these days, but again, it was really good. Just simple but effective. This Dalek might have done a lot of the work, but Christopher Eccleston and Nicholas Brigg did all the heavy lifting in this episode, especially Christopher. He was just absolutely nailed it as the Doctor, and really just brought that energy and fear and hatred in this episode. I felt that if it wasn't for him selling the fear that this is the Doctor on the Time Lord's greatest enemy, then this episode could have, or the return of the Daleks could have been a bit flat. But yeah, Christopher did a fantastic job. I'll talk about that a little bit later in this review. The fact that we nearly didn't have the Daleks come back in 2005, the BBC and the Terry Nation estate had to make an agreed deal to bring the Daleks back, and I'm glad that they saw sense. Obviously, bringing Doctor Who back, I'm sure they had their worries, but I'm glad that they gave him the green light. The fact that Russell T Davies did have a backup plan as well, that turned out to be the Toclophane, which we saw in future episodes with the Master in season 3. I don't think it would have held as much. It would have been a very interesting what if the Doctor turned out when he was announcing a few episodes previous to this episode in season one, series one, sorry, that the Time Lords were all but extinct by their greatest enemy, the Toclafane. Don't think it would have been as powerful as the Daleks, to be brutally honest. But yeah, back to Christopher Eccleston. Yeah, he was fantastic. That first scene in the bunker in the Metaltron's cage, and all the lights are out apart from that one light coming from the Dalek's eye. And then you hear the Dalek voice for the first time, shouting out "Exterminate!" This was written, by the way, by Robert Shearman, who basically wrote the Big Finish audio story Jubilee from the Sixth Doctor, and that was kind of where that was lifted off. And Rusty T Davies wanted him to write this version. It had quite a lot of rewrites from what I was reviewing and researching for this episode, but this is where the sort of like where the similarities came from and kind of ended after that. But yeah, the interactions between Christopher and obviously Nicholas Briggs, who's done a lot of voice work for the Daleks for Big Finish Audios prior to 2005. Yeah, really just sold it completely. Still hurting from the Time War, still having those pain and trauma, and just seeing this Dalek again, this creature of hate, basically could have turned him insane. And you couldn't blame him really. And I love that the sort of throughout the episode, the fear and the hatred coming from both these aliens was sort of slowly turning. We had a massive journey for the Doctor in this 45-minute episode of who we think he is to who he has become, especially in the Time War, and how he could have easily ended up as this man of hate and bitterness. But just this one spark and a little bit of thanks from Rose Tyler obviously pulled him back from that brink. As the Dalek said, you would make a good Dalek. Those interactions, those scenes are just so powerful. Really good piece of drama. And credit to Billie Piper too as Rose Tyler, because for me, she was in this episode the linking bridge of these two aliens with bitterness and hatred in their hearts going on. And obviously, the Dalek absorbed a part of Rose Tyler's DNA as part of the semi Dalek regeneration, maybe, and obviously was getting absorbed a bit more than what the Dalek bargained for in terms of her DNA and humanity. So to have all that going off, and again, that must have been quite hard for Nicholas Briggs to do, to sort of humanize this Dalek. And give it a lot of emotion, or maybe just a bit more sort of freedom, creative wise, for the voice. But again, it legitimized where Rose was in this episode. She wasn't totally off the sidelines as companions are. There was a lot of thoughtfulness in how to construct this story to include a companion in a good way. Going back full circle, when the Rose first met the Dalek asked her, do you fear me? Are you frightened? No. And then at the end, are you frightened? Yes. Bonus props to the creation of Henry Van Statten in this episode. Again, sort of like, you can see these billionaire megalomaniacs throughout the world, don't you? I'm not going to name names, but I think we know who we're all talking about. The fact that he wanted to touch the stars, but just basically dragged them down bunker, used their technology for exploitation purposes and his own personal gains. And, in an ideal world, you don't want that to happen, but obviously and sadly, it does. And yeah, again, him and the Doctor's interactions. You want to drag the stars down and label them and put them in the underground, and yeah, and that's what he did. And he definitely got his just desserts, I think, after that. And yeah, in a sort of bit cruel, but you know, does the ends justify the means? You let me know in the comments. This episode is an exceptional piece of British drama. For 45 minutes, you are taken on this emotional roller coaster with some really good directions and action sequences, directed by Joe Ahern. I really love the shot where you see a soldier firing and he just pans across and you see the Dalek elevating up into the air. I think just before it presses the blows up the fire, the water sprinklers, so it can just take a couple of single shots to shoot all the people in that warehouse part of the bunker and exterminate them all in pretty much in one go. I'm sure that Terry Nation and Eric Saywood would be very happy with the body count this episode had. Once this episode finished its story, I felt that it kind of like grew up the series. You know, if you think of the episodes before Dalek, especially with like the Slovene and you know, the ghosts and things like that, it was quite sort of like entertainment. It was kind of just softly sort of getting the audience back into Doctor Who, so it wasn't anything too heavy-handed. And then this episode came and just kind of just shook everything up for the better, absolutely. And then it went off in a more sort of not too overcomplicated but powerful dramas. You know, especially the season finale that we got with the returning Daleks, and even like just some of the more sort of grown-up themes from the rest of the episodes, like Father's Day, the fake news themed episode as The Long Game, or even just Boomtown when we saw the Slovene come back for one more go. Even that was a more sort of adult themed, not dumbing down type of episode. You know, but it all sort of stemmed from here. This was the middle ground. It was the 6th episode in its 12 episode run, and yeah, it pretty much sort of like, you know, you can definitely go from pre-Dalek and post-Dalek, and just you can see the difference in terms of the themes and the emotional sort of side of it. I'm going to give Dalek a TARDIS rating of 9 out of 10. This is just a fantastic piece of 45-minute drama, and you can see why it's probably been voted as one of the best Doctor Who stories or episodes, especially since its return from 2005. And it did what it needed to do. It legitimized the show. I think it made it, you know, it planted its flag as being one of the best shows made by the BBC, and why it's still going strong today. Like I said, it was a great drama, fantastic work from Christopher Eccleston to sell the fear of the Dalek. You know, he made you pay attention that the Dalek is the greatest enemy of the Time Lords and the greatest sort of enemy of all the aliens ever to come into Doctor Who. And every time we see him again, yeah, it might have lost a little bit of its edge, probably in more recent episodes. But you know, you think of the Stolen Earth, Journey's End, Daleks in Manhattan. They still were, you know, a very scary, formidable foe. And why the Daleks are so popular in British culture, you put that in a silhouette and you know the outline of the shape straight away is a Dalek. You know, it's a popular design ever since its inception in the 1960s, with Dalek Mania as well. And I think there was a little bit of a renaissance of the Dalek Mania when it came out back in 2005. I remember ringing up my local supermarket because they had the radio controlled Daleks at a really good price at the time, and I kept ringing them every day to check if they had them in stock. And one morning they did, and I just rushed out and grabbed one, and I've still got it. It's one of my pride and joys as part of my Doctor Who collection, and I'm sure a lot of people will be thinking that. Again, love the design of the Dalek. Like I said earlier in this video, there's rumours that this version is going to be retired for season 14 and beyond. I think that rumour did get a little bit debunked but time will tell. It always does. Let me know in the comments below your thoughts to Dalek. Is this your favourite episode from the 9th Doctor era, or is this your favourite episode of Doctor Who, period? Next time on Timey Wimey Review, I will be reviewing the 10th Doctor's final adventure, The End of Time. Until then, thank you very much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed this review. Please like the video, share the video, subscribe to the channel, hit the cloister bell for more notifications, come say hello and follow me on Twitter at ReviewTimey, and please do check out my other videos from the Timey Wimey Review YouTube channel. And as the good doctor once said, I don't need to make claims, I know how good I am.